This video will explore the basics of everything you need to know to dehydrate food and why you should understand the science. I will use two different types of dehydrators, the sun and an oven, to demonstrate that the type of dehydrator isn't as much a factor as what you are dehydrating. I'll take a quick look at freeze drying, which is a new technology available at home. By the end of this video, you will know the basics of dehydration to the extent that you can do it yourself. Why dehydrate? Dehydration of food is a gentle application of heat to reduce the moisture content of food. This allows it to last much longer. Dehydrating food reduces the moisture content to between 5 and 20%. At that level, the bacterium that causes food to decay won't move around or propagate effectively. It either dies or goes dormant. It doesn't entirely die, and dehydrated food still has a usable shelf life and is susceptible to rehydration by moisture in the air. However, the process of decay is slow to a crawl through the use of dehydration. Dehydration is the fastest, simplest, and least expensive way to preserve food. If you have a productive garden or need to set food aside to survive a winter, you need to know the basics of dehydration, which I'll cover here. The simple fact is that you cannot eat an entire harvest of any plant before it goes bad. Preserving food is a key to having food in the future. Dehydration does have a few drawbacks, however. First, applying gentle heat to free up the water molecules in the food and encourage them to evaporate will also reduce the nutritional value of the food by up to 40%. This will vary depending upon the type of food and the bioavailability of the nutrients in the food, but it is still something to note. Second, the rehydration process requires water from an outside source, or it will need the water in your body to rehydrate. From a prepping standpoint, a dehydrated food diet will require you to increase your water consumption. Third, the texture and the taste of food are altered from its fresh form because of the application of heat is gently cooking the food. Still, even the slight reduction in the quality of nutrition, the need for water, and the altered, slightly cooked texture and taste, a huge benefit is food that, depending upon the type and the storage, can last 4 years or longer. The process and science. The water molecules are released when you dehydrate, and the remaining cells tighten up. This usually results in flavors intensifying. It can also result in pesticides concentrating. It can result in any bacteria or yeast on the surface not dying off entirely, but going dormant. This is why the first rule of dehydration is proper food handling. If you haven't seen the plant growing and you don't know how it was tended, you absolutely have to wash your food. The next step in the process is to slice or deconstruct the food to be dehydrated into smaller pieces. The thinner the piece, the quicker the dehydration process. Some foods that are too quick will experience a drying on the outside, making it difficult to push the moisture through the dehydration process out of the center. When you utilize thin cuts, you expedite the drying process. As an example, here are some bananas that I attempted to dehydrate when they were too thick. You can see how the center was still soft, even hollowed out, because the cells on the outside became too compacted to allow moisture through easily. This can cause your food to rot from within, so you always want to slice food you intend to dehydrate thinly. Heat should be above 130 degrees Fahrenheit, 54.44 degrees Celsius to coax the moisture out of the food. Meat should be dehydrated at no less than 150 degrees Fahrenheit, 65.5 degrees Celsius. When you think of heat and dehydration, you want the temperature to maximize the dehydration process and to be fast enough to reduce the moisture in the food before mold, bacteria, or yeast can take hold of the food. Your heat should be sufficient to outrun the pathogens that might take hold, but low enough to not alter the flavors, colors, or texture by cooking it. Dry heat with adequate airflow is optimal over humidity and fluctuating temperatures. Appearance is also a factor. Foods that have a high starch content will oxidize when exposed to oxygen. This is apparent when bananas, potatoes, or apples are cut and left exposed to the air. They'll take on a brownish, even gray tint and lose their appetizing fresh appearance. The simple solution to this is give oxidizing fruits and vegetables a couple of minutes of soak in a water bath with a couple of tablespoons of lemon juice in it. Lemon juice has ascorbic acid in it, which has an oxidation reduction property. This will help to maintain the original color of the food. The acid keeps the fruit from oxidizing, so you could also use a couple of tablespoons of distilled vinegar for the same result. As for the science, dehydration works through the application of low heat and steady airflow. The moisture in the food evaporates off, inhibiting the growth of bacteria, yeast, and mold. Fruits and vegetables are between 80 and 95% water, and meats are between 50 and 75% water. The dehydration process reduces the moisture content to below 20% and reduces water activity, the ability for water to move between cell membranes. If water activity is reduced in such a way, bacteria, yeast, and mold cannot take hold. However, the loss of that moisture also causes the cells to compact. This can result in a chewy
That my madam waiting they call Madam Fausat. Restless, tireless, always running from pillar to post, half of the time not for her own but for others. She's just the best.
Subscribe to the FausatSanni-Yusuf.com channel on YouTube via www.FausatSanni-Yusuf.com/YouTube. Follow her on Facebook via www.FausatSanni-Yusuf.com/Facebook.